These are all factors which will come into account when Judge Deshpande is deciding the argument on quantum of sentence.
And look at the plight. We are hearing voices that Salman is so generous. But what has he done in last 13 years for these victims? You know, this question has to be...
No, hold on. If he had directly contacted the victims, he would have been accused of influencing the course of justice. Let's be very clear.
But he would have said that to the court.
No, he would not have done.
You know, in Nanda's case, the same thing happened.
No. Let's be clear. I want to know this before I take a break. If Salman, through his lawyers, or through people close to him, had contacted Abdullah's family, had contacted the victim's family, offered them, "Main aapko 5 crore dunga, 10 crore dunga," you would have said it's a bribe, it amounts to obstruction of justice. He could not do that.
Salman would have been in great trouble.
He would have been in great trouble if he had done that.
Such an eventuality. And Rajiv, may I just say something? Indian Penal Code, the substantive law 304 Part 2 suggests it is imprisonment or fine or both. Now, Code of Criminal Procedure Code, that is a procedural law, under 357 says that while making a substantive punishment, in addition you can make compensation. So the compensation part has to be in addition.
Okay, I'm just going to take a break because before that, Ankit, you have some breaking news before I take the break. Very quickly, Ankit.
Rajdeep, the arguments on quantum of punishment are now over. The prosecution has also rested, and the order on the quantum would be at 1:10 p.m. So in just about 40 minutes from now,
today
we will know what the quantum of punishment, the sentencing is.
Okay, that's interesting that the judge finally, I'm glad, because for the longest time in this country, a trial which takes place for 13 years, then we hear the quantum after 2 days. So we are frankly going to get even the quantum of punishment ordered today from Judge Deshpande at 1:10. Just Judge Deshpande finally moving in fast forward mode.
Rajiv, I must say, in all fairness to Judge Deshpande, 28th of April to be precise, last year, finally the trial started in his court, mind you. And within 1 year and 7 days to be precise, he has not only completed the trial, he has already convicted, and now he is hearing sentencing almost instantly.
So that's a good sign.
I think perhaps this is unprecedented.
Unprecedented, and this is really the critical period. So the next 40 minutes, 1:10, will decide immediately Salman's fate. Even more than what happened at 11:10 when the court pronounced him guilty. At 1:10, our lawyers will tell us what exactly. We have a little bit more time therefore to go. We've taken them off the courtrooms. We'll give them, our lawyers here in my courtroom today, some coffee and biscuits. And we'll come back after the short break with plenty more. It's a fascinating debate because the victim's family is saying compensation, change our lives. The law says there's a provision for jail as well as providing fine or both. What is the notion of justice? The debate that many of us who went through law school have had for years with our professors. How do you define justice, particularly in a case like this? Back in a moment, plenty more on the Salman verdict here on Headlines Today. Welcome back. The reports that we are getting is that Salman Khan's lawyer is already preparing to go and appeal to the High Court. This, of course, depends on what is the nature of the verdict that will be passed. That verdict is to be passed now at 1:10. Salman has been pronounced guilty. Now the question is the quantum of sentence. And remember, this is where the judge has a lot of discretion given how Section 3042 plays out. It gives the judge the discretion of up to 10 years, but can also include 1 or 2 years. Fine can also be a way of punishing Salman. The big question, therefore, is what will the judge do? And there are two concepts of the law that we are looking at. The concept of retributive justice, which will say that Salman must spend an extended term in jail. And there is the concept of reformative justice, which will say that Salman could do compensation or provide community service, do something else other than having to spend an extended period in jail. And we're going to have to see what is the balancing act, if any, that Judge Deshpande chooses to do in this case. It's interesting that this is all happening on the very day that he's been pronounced guilty. The arguments for sentencing are over by both sides. Salman's lawyers are making a strong case based on precedent. Alistair Pereira case, the Sanjeev Nanda case, saying no punishment should be more than 2 years or maximum 3, and therefore he should be entitled to bail and he is ready to provide compensation. The other side saying that Salman has been held guilty under all charges, there's willful negligence, and therefore the court must apply a much stricter standard in Salman's case. Ankit Tyagi, you're telling us that Salman's lawyers have already decided to go to the High Court, right?
Absolutely. In fact, they are preparing for it. What we have been told by the lawyers in the defense team is that just in case of an eventuality, if he gets sentenced more than 3 years, they are already preparing papers to approach the High Court for immediate bail. Rajiv, if I can also quickly tell you what's happening now. The court has been cleared off. Salman Khan has got up from the witness box. He's standing near a window with his sister right now. He signed some papers that his defense lawyers in fact asked him to, and very interestingly now we in fact have the copy of that letter that we have just sent, and possibly in just a short while you will be seeing that letter. Salman Khan lawyers have presented a letter signed by a doctor saying that he has some heart related issues. So this is what a medical certificate of sorts has been presented in the court. Whether this becomes a factor when it comes to the quantum of punishment, to the sentence that he gets, we will have to wait and see. But yes, already moves are being made so that Salman Khan can get a lighter punishment. A medical certificate by a doctor has been produced by his lawyers saying that he's suffering from some heart-related issue.
Interesting. Does that play a role? The fact that Salman produces a doctor's certificate, look, I've got health problems, I have to go abroad. You're very clear the fact that he has the films being shot is no consideration. It wasn't a consideration in Sanjay Dutt's case, even though he tried to make that argument. It will not be in Salman's case. But medical condition?
Medical condition, it will be provided it is a sort of seriously argued and it is something actual ailment has taken place. Otherwise, even I don't think at this stage every accused of convicted of every offence will try and bring some kind of a medical certificate, because this has become the norm and the rule. So I don't think the judge will.
This is why you're paid good money. You're paid good money to go to a lawyer and say, let's give me a medical certificate so that my client can get off. You're saying medical certificate is now par for the course.
I am yet to see a case of this kind where a person having convicted of an offence in order to attempt to reduce the sentence has not tried to use something which may or may not be
so therefore, if it's a credible doctor who provides a medical certificate, look, Salman has a specific heart condition which needs constant monitoring, is that a factor again?
This is a considerable factor, and I would respectively disagree with Mr. Bhattacharya that if a doctor, this is a certificate issued by a medical professional and we cannot undermine the sanctity. So in this case, it has to weigh, and it has to weigh a lot, because medical condition is also a considerable factor whilst awarding a sentence.
I don't know if Nisha Jamwal is still with us. If you are, Ms. Jamwal, can you tell us a little bit more about Salman's medical condition?
Actually, I wouldn't be privy to his medical condition, but I want to go back to the fact that, when you're considering his conviction, I want to look at what you said. What is more important is how is the family going to be helped, and how is Salman and the rest of the world going to learn that to hit and run and to drive in a drunken stupor is not exactly the best way to conduct a situation like this. So, at the moment, bringing a heart condition to lessen his the years in which he's going to spend in jail is something that I don't want to debate. I want to debate the fact that he should be looking at community service. He should be looking at compensation and the fine. It should be a balance between the three, where the rest of the people I see in Bombay, being a person from Bombay, who still drink and drive, should take a leaf out of this case and improve the situation in cities where drinking and driving is still considered cool.
Has it, do you believe that in the last few years, that's what the sense I get, that people in Bombay have become much more conscious about drinking and driving? Is that because the police now is far more
It's because of the police.
Tougher?
It's not necessarily because, it's not because of, some conscience, a feeling of the fact that they may kill somebody, or there may be something consequence of their actions. It's more because of the police and because of fear, which is something, I'm hoping something like a case like this would bring, Abdul Sheikh speaking the way he is about the way his life has literally, come to naught. All he does is try to pass time in the bakery. And the son and the wife of the person who died, their life is literally, nothing. It's come. They just say that, can we have a job? Can Salman Khan help us get a job? I'm hoping that something like this would change the situation in cities where I have to disagree with you, Rajdeep. I don't think it's not considered uncool. I think it's still cool to drive fast cars. I see people on motorbikes racing in Marine Drive. Somehow I would have to disagree that, it's come down.
So hold on. You're saying that you think that there are still people out there who, importantly, still think it's cool to drink and drive, to drive fast. In that sense, even if Salman gets, let's say, a couple of years in prison, you don't think it's going to deter those people because they believe that it's cool to drink. That's a lifestyle choice for some. And the cars certainly in this country seem to be getting bigger all the time.
The cars are getting more, the cars are getting bigger, situations are getting more dangerous in my opinion. The roads aren't improving, infrastructure is not better in Bombay. Will Salman getting convicted change the situation? Yes, maybe it would, but I don't think that should play an important role in his getting convicted, which is what I started my argument with. I didn't think that celebrities getting, the harsher end of the stick should be a precedent for what's, going to happen with society at large.
No, the reason
my point here
but
is
look at
that,
the states. Look at the US, where you get 10 or 11 years. I would think 20 times before I touched alcohol if I was driving in the United States. In India, there's a tendency, and you alluded to that, to believe, ek do drink ho jaye. If I don't get caught by the cop, so be it. I mean, that's where the fear of the law comes. One of the reasons why we have law is that law must inspire fear. After 10 o'clock in the night, if lights are blinking, people tend to just ignore the red light.
Yes, this is true. I do agree with you about this, and I feel very strongly about drinking and driving because I see it all the time. More so in motorbikes. I see it's very dangerous, and it's I see it at night, especially when I'm returning from flights late at night. Very big, like you said, big cars increasing on the roads. The cool factor, movies, television, making a precedent of it being cool. Yes, I agree with you. Would Salman getting convicted help the situation? I somehow don't feel, I feel so. Would his doing community service and compensating this man set a precedence of compassion and doing things more from a humane point of view than from a point of view of fear? That is where I'm coming from.
Okay, I take your point.
I feel things should be done in our country more out of, a certain conscience than out of fear.
Okay.
Because if having studied and lived abroad also, I feel people do things because they have that sense of what is right and wrong more eked out than the way we do.
Okay.
With us it is that, if there are no cops today, it's a national holiday, there are no cops, so let's drink and we won't be caught on the way. That does exist, and I see it and I'm privy to it.
We are like that only as people sometimes say, I want to go to Nurullah Mehboob Sharif's family. Remember, Nurullah Mehboob Sharif was the person who was killed. मैं पिछले 1-2 घंटे से आपको पूछ रहा हूँ, मैडम सर, आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ कि आप किस तरह का वर्डिक्ट चाहते हैं अब जज से? कॉम्पनसेशन चाहते हैं या सलमान को जेल जाना चाहते हैं? आप बार बार कह रहे हैं आपको सजा से कोई मतलब नहीं है, आप चाहते हैं कि आपकी जिंदगी में कोई फर्क आए. आज अगर भाई साहब आपको मैं कहूँ कि क्या चाहेंगे आप जिससे आपको आपकी जिंदगी में फर्क आएगा, क्या कहेंगे?
हमारी जिंदगी में क्या फर्क है? क्या बोल रहे हैं सर?
हेलो,
हाँ बोलिए सर. आपको मैं पूछ रहा हूँ क्या आपको
बोलो.
अगर आप कुछ सलमान खान को आज कहना चाहेंगे तो क्या कहेंगे आप सलमान खान को?
हम यही बोलेंगे सलमान खान से, जो मेरा उनको कोई चीज़ से हमको मुझसे मतलब नहीं, तकलीफ नहीं है
जी।
यही तक जो हमारा खाली एक नौकरी में हो जाए, मेरा काम धंधा हो जाए बस, और एक रूम हो जाए बस।
एक रूम हो जाए, नौकरी हो जाए, बस इतना ही अगर आप चाहोगे तो इतना ही आपके लिए एक तरह से काफ़ी है कि कम से कम आपकी ज़िंदगी में कोई बदलाव आया है।
अब जो
इस समय आप कहाँ रहते हैं सर? इस समय आप कहाँ रहते हैं?
इस समय मालूम, ये मालाड वेस्ट
जी,
मालूनी
जी। और पिछले 10 साल में कोई जिंदगी में फर्क नहीं आया? पिछले 13 सालों में
मतलब
बहुत
फर्क तो आया था
जी।
उनके गुजर जाने के बाद मेरा तकलीफ तो हुआ है, ऐसे बात नहीं है, तकलीफ तो होता ही है सबको।
तकलीफ तो इतना झेले, ज्यादा झेले, सबके पास
जो भी काम है, जो भी
बहुत जगह पे गए थे लेकिन कोई सुनाई नहीं दिया।
इस समय रोजी रोटी कहाँ से मिलती है?
बस जो नौकरी करता हूँ, जो मिलता है 200-300 मिल जाता है, उसमें मेरा घर चलता है बस।
तो दिहाड़ी करते हो?
दिहाड़ी में करता हूँ, मतलब एक दिन का 200 मिलता है मुझे।
ड्राइविंग करते हो, एक दिन का 200 मिलता है?
नहीं, मतलब ड्राइवर ही नहीं करता हूँ, अपना मिस्त्री लोग के साथ में रहता हूँ।
अच्छा। और जब काम करते हो तो 200 रुपए दिन के मिलते हैं?
कभी उसमें काम लगता है क्या नहीं लगता है, कभी घर पे बैठो कि अपना दिन ऐसे ही खराब हो जाता है।
यानी आपके पास रेगुलर कोई जॉब नहीं है?
नहीं।
और मैडम आप क्या करती हैं?
कुछ नहीं, ऐसा काम धागा बीघा, नाइटी का धागा बीघा काटते रहते हैं,
मतलब घर का काम करते हैं।
और कितने बच्चे हैं घर पे मैडम? कितने लोग हैं? कितने परिवार में कितने लोग हैं?
परिवार में हमारा 4 लड़की है
जी।
बहुत बड़ा पारिवारिक है, मगर सब मोल मोजरी करते रहते
जी। बड़ा परिवार है, जिम्मेदारी आप पर एक तरह से है, आपके पास रेगुलर एम्प्लॉयमेंट नहीं है, एक तरह से जिंदगी आपकी वैसे है जैसे बंबई में कई लोगों की है, मार्जिन्स पर है। जी।
जिंदगी तो हमारी कोई ऐसा तकलीफ में झेलती हूँ, कोई हमारा हेल्प करने वाला कोई है ना।
जी जी जी। आपने हमसे आज बात की है, मैं शुक्रगुजार हूँ कि आप अपनी कहानी एक तरह से बता रहे हैं। 13 साल बड़े लंबे समय होता है, और आज उसका एक तरह से कुछ लोग कहेंगे फाइनल एक्ट एक तरह से है। 1/10 को कोर्ट का वर्डिक्ट आएगा, तब आपसे फिर से बात करेंगे। We'll take a break at this point. You've got a family there which lives like so many families in Mumbai on the margins, and they find themselves in a situation which they didn't really ask for. They were living on the pavement, or their breadwinner was living on the pavement when that terrible incident happened. He died 13 years later. How do they seek justice? It appears that their concept of justice is more in terms of how their life changes, not what happens to Salman Khan. Salman Khan has almost become incidental in that sense in their notion of justice, and that's an important fact to keep in mind as we look ahead to what the judge decides about the quantum of sentence. Let's take a break and then come back with a little bit more ahead as we look to 110 when Justice Deshpande will be delivering the verdict in the Salman Khan case. You're watching Headlines Today, Salman Verdict.